Good morning. This morning we're going to look at lesson number 3, which is a new chapter from your book, which is called We Are All Connected. And we'll look at the listen and speak portion again. We're going to look at 3 or 4 expressions from this chapter. Let's take a look at them now. This is week number 3. The first expression from the chapter is, I agree with you. I agree with you is used to tell someone that you think or you feel the same way about something as that person does. You can also say, I agree with you that something is true or something is correct. For example, smoking should not be allowed in restaurants. I agree with you. I agree with you that smoking in restaurants is bad. Here's another example. K-drama has become popular in many different countries. I agree with you. Or you can say, I agree with you that K-drama is now watched in many different countries. Okay, let's look at another example. Recently, many people are using programs like Zoom to communicate. I agree with you. Or, I agree with you that programs like Zoom have become more popular. Here's another example. The Internet and the World Wide Web are two different things. The Internet connects computers, whereas the World Wide Web is a way of accessing information on the Internet, connecting people together. So a person can say, I agree with you, or I agree with you that the Internet and the World Wide Web are different. Okay, let's look at another example. COVID-19 is a serious health problem in many countries. I agree with you. Or, I agree with you that COVID-19 is a global health problem. So both of these expressions can be used. I agree with you, or I agree with you that something is true. Another example. Now this is a new expression that is not in your book, but it means the same thing as I agree with you. In fact, it means I agree with you 100%. And this expression is, I couldn't agree with you more, means I agree with you 100%. Here's an example. Recycling is a very important way to help reduce trash. I couldn't agree with you more. Often this is an expression that is used with some strong feeling. I couldn't agree with you more. You are totally correct. Okay, let's look at another example. I couldn't agree with you more means that you agree 100%. The example here is everyone should wear a mask to help reduce COVID-19. I couldn't agree with you more. It's very important. Okay, let's look at another example. Cats are better pets than dogs because they require less care. I couldn't agree with you more. There's no exclamation point at the end of that sentence because maybe you wouldn't say it as strongly as you would a sentence like, oh, it's so important to wear a mask to reduce COVID-19. But we can use the same expression here. I couldn't agree with you more. Cats are better pets than dogs because they require less care. Okay, let's go to the next one. I think stores should be open 24 hours a day. I couldn't agree with you more. I think many people eat too much fast food nowadays. I couldn't agree with you more. People should not eat so much fast food. And let's look at the next one. I think everyone should be a volunteer at least once in their lives. I couldn't agree with you more. Now here's a different expression from the chapter. This comes out of Listen and Speak Part 2. Could you explain how something is done? Could you explain why something is done? So for example, could you explain how recycling helps the environment? These are used to gain information about how or why something is done. They give an explanation. Could you explain why too much coffee is bad for you? Too much coffee has caffeine. Caffeine is a drug that makes you nervous, a little bit nervous, so too much coffee is bad for you. Okay, here's another. Could you explain how power is made from falling water? We can see a picture here with falling water, and it turns a machine when it falls that helps to make power. We can see this in the picture. Okay, we can see this in the picture. The machine turns, the water falls, the machine turns, and it makes power. Okay, let's go to the next example. Could you explain why the sky looks blue? Could you explain why the sky looks blue? Could you explain how plants make oxygen? Could you explain how plants make oxygen? Plants use sunlight to convert sugar into oxygen. Okay. Now let's go look at the next one. Could you explain why some animals sleep in the winter? Could you explain why some animals sleep in the winter? Now there is a difference between could you explain and can you explain. These expressions are not the same. They are used for different reasons. Could you explain is a request for someone to do something for you. Could you explain something is a request for someone to explain something to you. Example, could you explain how to make a tiramisu cake? Could you tell me how to do it? You're asking them to tell you how to make this cake. Example, could you explain why some animals sleep in the winter? It's a request for you to learn why some animals sleep in the winter. You're asking someone to tell you the reason why some animals sleep in the winter. And here's another example. Could you explain to me why this test answer is wrong? You want to know the reason why it's wrong. You're asking the teacher, for example, to explain why the answer is wrong. It's a request. Could you explain how Netflix streaming service works? You want to know how Netflix works. It's a request for someone to tell you how this service works. This is not the same as can you explain. Can you explain means that you are asking someone if they have the ability to explain something to you, if they can do it, if they have the ability to do it. So for example, can you explain to me how an airplane flies? An airplane flies using a combination of forces that are in balance. Okay, the four forces are lift, weight, thrust, and drag, and they are in balance when an airplane flies. Okay, the next one. Can you explain how to solve this math problem? You're asking the teacher to give you, or pardon me, the teacher is asking you as a student to tell her how to solve the problem. Can you tell me how to solve this problem? Do you have the ability to tell me how to solve this problem? Can you explain how to get to the Home Plus store? She's asking you if you can tell her, do you know how to get to the Home Plus store, and can you tell me how to get there? And the last one, can you explain how a computer works? You want to know how a computer works, and you're asking someone if they can tell you how it works. Can you tell me how it works? I don't know. Can you tell me how it works? Are you able to tell me how a computer works? So this is the difference between can you explain and could you explain. There is a difference. One is a request, and one is asking someone if they have the ability to explain something to you. Homework very quickly. This homework is very simple. I want you to fill in the blanks using the expressions from the lesson that are shown on this page, and just complete the blanks with your own answers where they are empty at the end of the sentence. You can put your own answers in there. If you have any problems or difficulties, please send me an email and I will try to help you. That's all for today. Have a good day. Bye for now.